So that was kind of in the public discourse. But it was, I mean, maybe there was Travis Walton, Barney and Betty Hill. There just wasn't a lot of abduction material that was out there at that time. And you can hear clearly in his voice that he was experiencing terror. And you could hear that he was moving from place to place to place, because wherever he went, it seemed like it was following him. And then finally he found Catherine, who was a therapist who was able to work with him hypnotically. And again, what's really interesting is that Catherine's father was ex-military and deeply involved in UFOs. The whole thing was kind of incestuous and weird, but obviously it helped Christopher. I've got another tape, which is the other woman. It's a very different kind of interview. She describes her experience more as being very spiritual. One of the things that Christopher talked about in the other half of the interview, which unfortunately I don't have, but I clearly remember, is that at one point they approached him and they put some sort of an implant, like a small, like BB or something, down by his genitals. And they said to him that it would make him more sexually potent and virile. And he smiled at that, and he agreed. It's like, okay, well, if that's gonna give me a boost, then go ahead and lay it on me. But again, this is all in that euphoric, sort of, body paralytic state. So there's more. There was a lot more that he shared in the second part of that. And like I said, I'll try to do get the other tape racked up, and maybe I'll play that next week. Speaking of next week, I have got a great guest lined up for next week. Next week, I'm going to have George Green on. Does anybody know who George Green is out there? Sure, some of you know who George Green is. I first met George impersonally, by the way, nothing personal. I met George in 1990, and it was during the Gulf War, and it was part of my big awakening. And George had a seminar in downtown Olympia, and at that time he was, talking about his defection from the Carter administration, and he was very into. I don't know how many of you know about like Haton and the Pleiadian stuff, and it was interesting. The Haton material was interesting. The Phoenix Owner Manual, but then Bo Greitz was into it, and I kind of backed off of that. But there was some interesting stuff that came through the Haton material, and the Haton material was a lot of the Robotoid and synthetic clones and all that stuff. Anyway, I met George during that time, just went to a seminar, and I've kind of tracked him over the ages. He's over the years, and he over the ages. He's on Coast to Coast a lot, and he's been a regular guest at Coast to Coast for a number of years. Anyway, I reached out to him because I thought he'd be an interesting guest to have on during these times where we're at, because he would give us a kind of a clear insight. And so George will be on the show next week, and you can tap into him. It's funny, I just got this sent to my inbox from before it's news. It's a major U.S. intelligence agency reveals ET contact. So here we are. We're talking about ETs, we're talking about abductions, and this just came out here. It is scientists determined that mysterious signals received in 1957 were transmitted to Earth from an advanced alien civilization. Decades have passed while security analysts dedicated cryptographers struggled to decipher the enigmatic messages from a completely unknown distant alien culture. Now, in 2011, the NSA, one of the United States' most secret intelligence gathering organizations, has released under protest, forced by order of a U.S. federal court judge, stunning information about intelligent life in the universe. But as usual, the non-curious, inept, doltish mainstream media completely ignores it. So this is the NSA briefings, mostly held in secret. 29 lengthy transmissions were received and verified as being of extraterrestrial origin. According to some intelligence in the intelligence community, this hot potato was given the highest priority and assigned to goggle-eyed geeks, tasked to find out exactly what the enigmatic transmission said. Speculation among some NSA spooks about what the mysterious messages said allegedly ran the gambit from sarcastic guesses that they were just some garbled alien radio commercials, an inside joke that drew nervous laughter from some of the analysts, to those that were convinced the messages were coded in some unknown mathematical progression, conveyed the basics of unlimited energy, star travel, or even time travel. So here we go. Thrive. This is part of the Thrive code, I guess. Allegedly, those that subscribe to the latter theories have absolutely nothing to support their belief. NSA forms crack teams. According to researchers who have analyzed the document available for your inspection as a downloadable PDF at the end of this article, an NSA specialist named Dr. Howard Campaign was given the responsibility of choosing a cryptology team to work on checking the code, cracking the code. So it says the task was compartmentalized, and many who worked at the NSA had no idea that such a project or even the messages the team focused upon existed. The entire project was strictly enforced by secrecy and conducted under the auspices of the official Secrets Act, and all participants took national security oaths. Only those deemed crucial to the success of the undertaking were allowed access to the secrets under the provisions of a well-defined need-to-know hierarchy. Private researchers stumbled upon a great secret. The project allegedly had been in the works for decades when some in the UFO community who were bombarding the government agencies and the United States Air Force with FOIA requests about UFO sightings and activities stumbled across this bombshell. Although many of the documents they received were heavily redacted, with page after page blacked out, several separate documents were released from the NSA, contained snippets of information, clues that some sort of alien message had been intercepted during the late 1950s. The investigation struck pay dirt when an obscure reference to an internal report, NSA Technical Journal, volume number 14, number 1, about a cryptology team tasked to decode the messages obtained from outer space, meaning from outside the solar system, was discovered. NSA fights release of super secret ET documents. After several years of intense effort to dislodge a now identified report from the NSA, the explosive document was reluctantly downgraded from one of the highest secret classifications to an unclassified status and scheduled for an October 21, 2004 release to the public. The date came and went without the document being released. Eventually, Peter Gersten, a lawyer from Arizona, sued the intelligence agency demanding its release, along with other documents under the auspices of a strict interpretation of the FOIA law. The case dragged on until a federal judge found in favor of the plaintiffs and ordered the NSA to release the documents. Quietly, under court order, the NSA released the section of NSA Technical Journal, Volume 14, Number 1, stipulated by the judge. The agency tucked it away in an obscure corner of their internet site. The document concerning the extraterrestrial contact, only one of an unknown number of other reports/articles written by the team working for Dr. Campaign. It's like campaign with an I. The FOIA document was incomplete. Only pages 13 through 23 were released with some slight redaction. All other pages were missing. No other reports were included, although the pages released clearly refer to other articles written by the team describing their efforts to break the alien code. This release may well be the smoking gun that researchers have searched for during the last 50 years. It sheds a very strong light into the darkest corners of the U.S. intelligence community's massive cover-up of UFOs, ETs, and otherworldly events. It is unambiguous, to say the least. If the NSA's own authentic document meant for your eyes only internal distribution is to be believed, alien intelligences not only exist, they contacted us for more than 5 decades ago. That means we know they're here. Famed physicist Stephen Hawking remarked in 2010 that if an extraterrestrial race ever discovers us, it might not be a good thing. It could spell the end of the human race. The word is, most of the alien messages have still not been translated. If they ever are, let's hope the full message does not turn out to be like the famous episode of the classic Twilight Zone television series, To Serve Man, about aliens arriving on Earth. In that chilling story, UN translators translated the aliens' language, discovered the book the ETs always carried with them was a cookbook. So there we go. It was today. Today was a very synchronistic day. Talked about Christopher's abductions with aliens. And here we go. The story on Before Its News Breaks. So Erica just chimed in the chat room that Stephen Hawking is a shill. Is Stephen Hawking even real?